physical impossibility.
No. I've been watching the Zapruder film this whole entire time, so I don't know where the actual exit wound is because the Zapruder film was from the side. So all you can see is his head motion, so you have to go off of the head motion. So if you watch the Zapruder film completely, frame by frame, which I have done, not in this instance, but I've been watching it, on a loop since we started this, but I've watched it frame by frame. And you can first see his head go forward a little bit,
yep,
and then go backwards as the bullet leaves his face.
But there is
in
one
theory,
frame,
as we've talked about, if you get shot from the back of the head, the bullet leaves you from the front of the face, your face is going to explode essentially and shoot your head back a little bit. So I don't think there's anything to even talk about there, because if his head goes forward first as the bullet enters his head, which makes sense from the pressure, and then as the bullet leaves his head via the front of his face, it explodes his face, which makes his head go whatever way it went in the video. So I don't understand where the physics of it is wrong. First of all, I'm going to throw up if I watch this movie one more time, because it's gross, because you can literally see. And I found a video that makes it in like 1080p, so it like enhanced it. So now I'm just watching this over and over as everybody talks. I'm just keep watching Kennedy's face explode. But I mean, you cannot tell where the bullet leaves from, first of all. And I would make the argument that if I shot you in the face with a high-powered rifle, that your face would explode. It doesn't matter.
I don't think it was a high-powered rifle. I think it was a cheap little shit rifle. But
it doesn't matter. Look, it's a cheap little shit rifle, but it's still a high-powered carbine rifle. It doesn't matter. It's not the creme de la creme of rifles, but it is still a rifle nonetheless. It is still able to. If you shot a deer with it in the face, it would explode the deer face. So I don't necessarily believe the fact that it entered and exited through whatever coordinates of the face that you said it does, because I think at that point with that rifle, the face explodes without knowing where it actually exits from. I mean, I just don't think you can say that because it seems to explode from the right eye that's where he gets shot from, because I think the whole face at that caliber and at that range, I think the whole face explodes.
Okay, so Chase, what do you think happened? Who do you think killed him, and why?
I mean, I am 100% confident that Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK because of no other reason outside of that he is a complete sociopath or psychopath, and that's it. I mean, I don't think there's anything. Much like you've said almost every episode that we've done of this podcast, Adam, that you can find patterns, you can find assumptions with whatever you want to. If you start with a hypothesis, you can sort of lend towards all of this random shit. And I don't disagree with that. However, what I would say is that if you do indeed do an actual history of Lee Harvey Oswald, and I'm going to go up on a soapbox for a second, so you might want to enter the 4-minute fucking thing that you said in the last podcast. But I want you guys to listen, because Lee Harvey Oswald is a gigantic fucking tool bag. And he goes to Russia. Yes, he goes to Russia because he's completely against the fucking United States. He's a Marxist. He does not believe in any of the ideology. However, I will caveat with he loves Kennedy. He loves Kennedy. He praises Kennedy on numerous different occasions in writing and everything else. So, and everybody says, that knows Lee Harvey Oswald, that he loves Kennedy. So that is beyond the point.
Do you kill someone you love?
Listen, he loves Kennedy, but he hates everything that Kennedy stands for in the government. He hates the government so much that I feel like with his mental state, with his his mental degradation that he can just completely disregard his love for Kennedy and hate the government so much that he can justify doing what he did to Kennedy. So he goes over to Russia, and his visa runs out. So this motherfucker, instead of coming home like every other normal person does, he slits his own wrist and tries to commit suicide so that he can stay in Russia. To me, that's a fucking red flag that says this guy's a nutcase. So then forward on, he stays in Russia. He marries this, or he tries. He makes an attempt to marry this. He lives in Belarus, or he finds this Belarusian chick, and he proposes to this chick, and she says no, get the fuck out of here, basically. So he says, well, in his journals or whatever the hell he's keeping at that time, he says, well, maybe Russia and this part of the world, his diary, maybe this part of the world is not right for me. So he tries to come back to the United States. So this guy, his whole fucking life is just he's a lunatic. He is a psychopath. This guy wants to be great. He is not great. The only thing that he can comprehend in his mind is that he is a communist believer. He loves the communist government, and that's how all of these theories start, is that he is indeed a sympathizer, if you will, for these causes for the communists. So Cuba, for Russia, for everything else. And he loves this ideology, and he hates our government. Regardless of how much he loves Kennedy, he hates our government. And he wants to be known. He wants to be loved, as you can tell. I mean, he is just one of those guys that you want to include because you know if you don't include him that he's going to shoot up your workplace. Like that's basically what Lee Harvey Oswald is. So to be known, he finally gets this job at the repository. He finally has the ability. I mean, this guy even goes as far as when he orders this carbine rifle, he orders it under a pseudonym in a PO box, and there's something wrong in this motherfucker's head that it lends everything towards him shooting the president. And it's because he just is his psychopath, and he wants to be known. He had the ability. He missed the first shot. So that proves that you don't have to be a great shot in order to kill the president. He missed the first shot. He got lucky on the other two. I mean, it's not that hard to calculate if you're classically trained, if you will, as a Marine, as a Marine, then you could recalculate or recalibrate your calculations once you miss one shot and the car is going 7 to 10 miles an hour and Kennedy's not moving, you can shoot him. So I find it hard to believe that, given this guy's background, given this guy's ideology and his skill set, that there's anything else going on here. And he killed the cop, right? Why would you kill the cop if you didn't have any reason to? So he kills the cop. He goes to this theater, and I don't find the evidence matches up to.
Okay, so you think that Lee Harvey Oswald killed him because he's a psychopath? Okay.
Not necessarily a psychopath. I think there's something wrong with him, just like any other shooter of anything else. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the end of the story.
All right, Miles, what do you think happened and why?
Well, first, your story was great. It was definitely more than 4 minutes, and
it needed to be told.
but what you painted sounds like the most amazing scapegoat you could ever ask for.
We let you talk, Chase. Just chill.
This. I want my 4, maybe 10 minutes.
No, we can't. We don't have 10 minutes. Sorry.
No. So no. It sounds like the greatest scapegoat. The gentleman that I was talking about, that I still can't remember his name, who has worked to snuff out all of these conspiracies, has, in his mind at least, successfully done so, except for one. And there's one that he continues to try because he doesn't want to believe it, and that's that the CIA did it. For whatever reason. Now, my thing with this conspiracy is like any other one that I love debating. I will not pretend to know what happened, but I will tell you that I cannot believe what is said that has happened, because there are too many things that point to, I think you just said it best, Adam, that if you have a conclusion that you want to go to, it is easy to. No, Chase said it.
I said that.
Yeah,
Give
you
me
said
fucking
it.
credit
No,
for
you're
that.
right. I'm sorry.
I
Chase,
said it
I'm
first
sorry.
in a previous episode, but okay.
Okay. But if there is a conclusion, a foregone conclusion you want, you can prove it. But that's the reverse of science, and that's what the Warren Commission had. The Warren Commission came in with the desire to convict Oswald. So their question was, how can we prove Oswald did it? Now, if I said, how can I prove that Adam punched my wife in the face? I will come up with some sort of evidence. I don't think you would ever do that, Adam. You're a nice guy. But I could find evidence that would point to that, and I could have convinced somebody who is unknown that, who is not familiar with the situation that you did, in fact, punch my wife. So that's what the Warren Commission did, and some points to help that and why he's a great scapegoat. There were multiple reports following his arrest that Lee Harvey was going to be shot and killed, and that the plans had been talked about at these nightclubs. There are police reports that you can that are available that this is true. So and those were ignored, and why were they ignored? Why were they okay with allowing this thing to be to happen? Oswald had visited, as we said, Mexico City, called the Cuban embassy, sent a letter to the Soviet embassy. The thing to be concerned about, and so is Mr. I am not going to pronounce that name, Katzenbach, is having something issued so that we can convince the public that also Oswald is the real assassin, is in this message that they want these things. He's the perfect scapegoat. Now, why did the CIA do it? There's a plethora of reasons they could have done it. There's a plethora of reasons to cover up the survival aspect that you put in there. Former CIA director that
Kennedy fired.
That Kennedy fired. That also served on the Warren Commission, which seems fishy to say the least. But there's just I don't know. I don't know what happened. I mean, I was less than negative 20 years old at that time, so I can't even remember where I was. But I know that the official story is full of so many holes that it puts Swiss cheese to shame.
But do you think just because a story has holes in it that it means that there's something hinky going on? Because I don't believe
not necessarily.
That.
No.
I mean, I will be the first person to attest that this was basically uncharted territory for the Secret Service at the time. They're going through a transition phase. They're trying to find their sea legs, and I don't think they were prepared for something like this. So, do I think there's inconsistencies in the story? Do I think there's gaps in the intel? Do I think there's hinkiness going on? 100%. But I don't think that equates to anything other than what actually happened. I think that just gets perceived as something is awry. But I don't necessarily mean I don't think that just because things aren't conclusive and things aren't necessarily the way that they should be, that we should all go towards, thinking that something is out of the ordinary. Adam, how do you feel about this?
Oh, thanks for asking me, Chase. I think that JFK.
First of all, thanks for being the moderator for this episode.
I think that JFK was a notorious womanizer, and Jackie Kennedy hired Lee Harvey Oswald to kill him.
This is not a real story. I don't think this is.
No, I'm just kidding. I thought I would throw that one out. Sound like you for once with a
no, but that's
a crazy.
A great one.
I bet you proof of this is buried on Oak Island.
Let's hope. See,
but no, I actually think that to me the most probable thing is that the CIA was involved. I have to go with that one. I really think.
I don't.
So there's a lot to this. Obviously, in 1 hour-ish episode, we're not going to cover everything.
Let's keep
We're
going.
not going to cover everything.
No, let's keep going.
And so there's a lot of things that we didn't get into, but I really think that the CIA being involved makes complete sense. There's a lot of things that are fishy.
Tell me why. You can't just kick the shit back, like you said. So tell me why you think the CIA is involved. I don't care if this goes on for
Hold on,
2 hours.